Let's break down what a trade war really is. It's a term you hear a lot in the news, but what does it actually mean for countries and for people like you and me? Imagine you mow your neighbor's lawn and they bake you a pie in return. A simple, sweet deal. It's a win-win. You both get something you want and everyone's happy. But then one day, your neighbor changes the rules. If you want my pie, you have to pay $5. That's a tariff, a tax on goods from another country. Suddenly, what used to be a friendly exchange now costs extra. The idea behind tariffs? Make foreign goods pricier so you'll buy local instead. Governments hope you'll pick the homegrown pie, not the imported one. But if you respond by charging more for mowing, suddenly both of you are paying extra and nobody's happy. What started as a simple trade now feels like a hassle, with both sides losing out. That's a trade war. Countries slapping taxes on each other's products, hoping the other will back down. It's a tit-for-tat battle, with each side trying to outdo the other. It's not about soldiers, but about taxes and tough talk. Instead of armies, it's customs officers and paperwork at the border. The goal is to protect local jobs and businesses, like making sure your local steel mill stays open, or your farmers can keep selling their crops. Leaders want to show they're standing up for their own people. Governments argue tariffs level the playing field, but it rarely works out so cleanly. The reality is, things get messy fast, and the effects ripple through the economy. The other country fights back, and suddenly, your own businesses suffer. Stores close, workers worry about their jobs, and uncertainty grows. Protecting one industry can hurt another, like a lawnmower company losing its best customer. Sometimes, the very people tariffs are meant to help end up paying the price. Trade wars become a complicated chess match with every move met by a counter-move. Each side tries to outsmart the other, but the game can drag on for years. In the end, it's regular people, just wanting pie or a mowed lawn, who get caught in the middle. Prices go up, choices go down, and life gets a little harder for everyone. That's the real cost of a trade war. It's not just about countries fighting. It's about how those fights affect our everyday lives, our wallets, and our communities. Fast forward to 2025. Donald Trump is back in the White House and announces a sweeping 35% tariff on nearly all Canadian goods starting August 1st. This isn't a minor tweak, it's an economic earthquake for Canada, whose biggest customer is the US. The official reason? Fentanyl crossing the border, though US data shows only a tiny fraction comes from Canada. Many saw this as more about global trade strategy than real border issues. Trump's move was part of a broader push, threatening tariffs on the EU and Mexico too. The message: America's getting a raw deal, and Trump's using tariffs to rewrite the rules. For Canada, with 75% of its exports going south, this was a direct hit to its economy. Supply chains, cars, lumber, you name it, were suddenly at risk. Canada now faced a tough choice: how to respond to its biggest trading partner turning up the heat. Canada didn't just roll over. When faced with aggressive US tariffs, the country stood its ground, refusing to be intimidated or pushed aside. Instead, Canadian leaders and citizens alike rallied together, determined to defend their national interests and send a clear message to Washington. Prime Minister Carney hit back with $12 billion in counter-tariffs, targeting US products from key political states: orange juice from Florida, bourbon from Kentucky, motorcycles from Wisconsin. These weren't just any goods, they were carefully chosen to hit at the heart of American industries and communities with political clout. This wasn't random, it was strategic, aiming to pressure US politicians where it hurt most. Canadian officials pored over data, mapping out which states would feel the sting and which lawmakers might start to feel the heat from their own voters. Carney's message was clear and unwavering. Canada will not be bullied. We'll defend our workers and industries. He spoke directly to Canadians, reassuring them that their livelihoods mattered and that their government was ready to fight back. The goal? Put economic and political pressure on the US to back down and show Canadians their government was fighting for them. Every tariffed product was a signal, both to Americans and to Canadians, that this was a battle for fairness and respect. Counter-tariffs are classic trade war tactics, about leverage, not just economics. They're a way to force your opponent to the negotiating table, to make them feel the consequences of their own actions. By targeting swing states, Canada hoped to spark American business and political leaders to push back against Trump's tariffs. The idea was to create enough discomfort that those with influence would demand a change in course. It's like letting your neighbor's lawn grow wild before their big party. Suddenly, it's their problem too. The mess can't be ignored, and the pressure to clean it up mounts quickly. Canada was betting that US domestic pressure would be its strongest weapon. If enough Americans felt the pain, the hope was that the White House would have no choice but to reconsider. The trade war was now a high-stakes game of nerves. Each side waited for the other to blink, knowing that the outcome could reshape the economic relationship between two of the world's closest neighbors. Trade wars aren't just headlines. They hit your wallet and your job in ways you might not expect. Every time a new tariff is announced, it sets off a chain reaction that reaches all the way from international borders to your local store and even your workplace. Tariffs mean higher prices. US tariffs on Canadian aluminum make soda cans pricier. Canadian tariffs make American bourbon and orange juice cost more. Everyday items you rely on suddenly take a bigger bite out of your budget, and it's not just luxury goods, it's the basics too. Families face tough choices, pay more for favorites or switch brands. For many, that means stretching every dollar further, rethinking shopping lists, or even cutting back on treats and essentials. For businesses, costs skyrocket. A Canadian construction firm relying on US machinery might delay projects or cut jobs. When materials get more expensive, companies have to make hard decisions, sometimes putting expansion plans on hold or letting workers go. Tariffs meant to protect one industry often hurt another, like a US steel mill winning, but an auto factory losing. The benefits for some are often outweighed by the losses for others, creating winners and losers in unexpected places. In Canada, lumber mills and tech companies risk layoffs if they lose US customers. When cross-border business dries up, entire communities can feel the impact, from the factory floor to the local coffee shop. American farmers and small businesses suddenly lose access to their biggest market. Crops go unsold, shops close early, and the ripple effect spread through rural towns and city neighborhoods alike. The Royal Bank of Canada reported exports were already falling, and US business groups warned the tariffs were self-defeating. Economists point to shrinking trade numbers and warn of long-term damage to growth and jobs. This isn't theory, it's real people, real jobs, and real uncertainty. Behind every statistic is a family facing tough times, a worker searching for new opportunities, and a community bracing for change. Trade wars ripple through the economy, from the factory floor to your grocery bill. The effects are felt in every paycheck, every shopping trip, and every business decision. The pain is felt on both sides of the border. No matter which country you call home, the uncertainty and stress are shared by workers, families, and business owners alike. It's not just about numbers, it's about livelihoods. It's about the dreams people have for their families, and the stability they count on to build their futures. And the longer it drags on, the worse it gets. The uncertainty grows, and the costs, both financial and personal, keep adding up for everyone involved. At the center, two leaders, two styles. Trump, the populist disruptor, sees trade as a zero-sum game. America wins or loses. He uses tariffs as a battering ram, projecting strength and rallying his base. Mark Carney, Canada's new Prime Minister, is a global finance expert, measured, analytical, but now surprisingly tough. Carney's retaliatory tariffs send a clear message: Canada won't be pushed around. Trump frames tariffs as temporary pain for long-term gain, always confident a better deal is coming. Carney, meanwhile, must look strong at home but also find a way out of a damaging trade war. Both leaders are playing to their audiences. Trump thrives on drama, Carney on resolve. The world watches as they spar, each trying to claim victory. It's a clash of personalities as much as policies, and the stakes couldn't be higher. This trade war isn't just politics, it's personal. In Canada, Carney's tough stance boosted his popularity. Most Canadians support fighting back, even if it hurts. It sparked debate about relying so much on the US. Many now want to diversify trade. In the US, opinion is split. Trump supporters back the tariffs, believing they'll bring jobs home. Others, farmers, manufacturers, business groups, see the tariffs as self-sabotage, costing money and jobs. For some it's patriotic, for others it's a disaster. The divide runs deep, shaped by politics and industry. On both sides, people are feeling the impact in their wallets and workplaces. The trade war is no longer abstract, it's a daily reality, and it's changing how both countries see each other. The US-Canada trade fight isn't happening in a vacuum. The world is watching. Trump's tariffs hit not just Canada, but the EU, Mexico and others, uniting America's traditional allies in opposition. Countries are coordinating responses, threatening their own tariffs, and forming a united front. The EU and Japan are rethinking their reliance on the US market. America's unpredictability is pushing allies to seek new partners and build new supply chains. The risk: the US could isolate itself, losing influence and economic power. The global trading system, built on trust and rules, is under strain. This trade war is a test case for how the world deals with a more aggressive, protectionist America. The consequences could last long after this fight is over. The world's biggest economies are watching and learning. America's next move could reshape global trade for years. Everyone's got popcorn, but the stakes are real. With the August 1st deadline looming, everyone's asking, will there be a deal? Negotiations are slow. Carney insists on a fair deal for Canada. Trump projects confidence, but keeps everyone guessing. The USMCA trade deal is still technically in effect, but Trump's new tariffs threaten its stability. Carney recently admitted the US may insist on some tariffs as a permanent reality. Some see this as weakness, others as pragmatism, a first step toward compromise. Best case, a last-minute deal, some tariffs lowered, both sides claim victory. Worst case, no deal, tariffs hit and the trade war escalates. Billions in trade and millions of jobs hang in the balance. Why does this trade war matter? Tariffs mean higher prices on cars, groceries, even building materials. Jobs and economic stability are at risk. Supply chains that cross the border are disrupted. Businesses hesitate to hire or invest, slowing the economy. Beyond economics, it strains the US-Canada relationship, two of the world's closest allies. Mistrust grows, alliances weaken, and the world becomes less stable. This is about more than trade. It's about trust, jobs, and the future. Political decisions ripple across borders, affecting millions. Trade isn't just numbers, it's people, communities, and the ties that bind us. Understanding this conflict means understanding what shapes our world.